Have you heard that Airtel Tigo calls from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. and Airtel Tigo money transfers are now free on new SIMs? Now you know. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. And Lydia Contraceptive. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on Ghana television. On The Point of View, we get the right guests. We ask them the relevant questions on issues that matter to you, and hopefully you learn something nice. It's interactive. If you're watching on television, send us your comments on the issues on the WhatsApp number on the screen. And if you're watching on any of the social media platforms, feel free to comment under the stream. Let's keep it healthy. Let's keep it educative. We'll be speaking to the national organizer of the governing New Patriotic Party, Mr. Sammi Awuku, is joining us to have a chat about election 2020, the NPP's manifesto, their press conferences that have become very frequent these days, and all the issues about why they feel Nana deserves 4 more. We'll be right back. Don't forget, this program is brought to you by Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Good.
Cause I'm the new best thing. I'm the new best thing. Better than you've ever seen. I'm the new best thing. I'm gonna be the king. I bring that ching ching ching. Yeah, I'm the new best thing. I'm the new best thing.
Discover new Silky Guinness Smooth. Perfectly balanced for a smooth, refreshing taste. New Guinness Smooth.
Welcome to The Point of View. So it's less than 90 days to election 2020, so expect more political people on the show. We had Kwame Wadaku in our previous show. We covered the NDC's manifesto launch at UPSA Live. Today I have the national organizer, I think he's the youngest national organizer of any political party, Sammi Awuku. He's my guest. Sammi, great to have you. Good evening.
Good evening, Bernard. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yes, it's been busy for you, it's been busy for us.
We live in the same neighborhood. But
yes.
We hardly get to meet.
You politicians, when you eat, you set everybody's tongue wagging. So because we want to go into office or retain power, we can't sleep.
We try. We mean well.
Wow.
And we make news. And we also track the biggest comment, negative and positive. But we try. We won't always get it right, but we won't deliberately get it wrong. So that's the nature of it.
What is the job of a national organizer?
Well, that's interesting. Let me say good evening to your cherished viewers. For me as a national organizer, my schedule and job description is quite clear in the NPP's constitution. The national organizer is tasked to ensure the party mobilizes enough vote to win a general elections. Okay. The national organizer is also responsible for the setting up of branches and maintaining these branches. He's also in charge of training programs, capacity building. In effect and simplicity, he must ensure we have enough numbers. So if you're heading towards a major elections, the national organizer should be one of the people who should tell you whether we are winning or we are not winning. He should be able to test the pulse of the populace, the pulse of the party followers, and whether we're on the right track or not. So it's very important, very cardinal. Aside that, the national organizer is in charge and supervises the activities of the youth wing led by the youth leader, the women's wing led by the women's leader, and that of the Nasara.
Wow.
And then
so those 3 people report to you in a way.
They report
youth
to the
organizer, Nasara coordinator, women work with
Yes,
you?
they work under the organizational wing, which is headed by the national organizer. And the national organizer must also periodically update the general secretary on the happenings, progress made, and all that. The general secretary then also updates and briefs the national chairman and the steering committee of the party. So when I was youth leader, I know people complain that they used to see me a lot when I was youth leader, and now I'm not youth leader, I'm national organizer. So there's a limit to what I can do. And also, you don't have to also take the space of the other wings under you. That's of the women.
And you were the youth organizer before?
Yes.
So for you, staying with the party is because a lot of people you started with are in government.
Well, I started off as a young guy as deputy communications director. I had one of the best bosses, that's Nana Kumia. So I worked under him myself. John Boydu was also another deputy. Yabu Abian Samoa, Perry Okujetu, and Olivia Korte. Olivia is now with the NCA. YB is now our communications boss. And John Boydu is now general secretary of the party. Perry is now deputy minister for youth and sports. So from communications then, the NPP was very generous to me, made me youth leader. And then from there, in 2018 in Koforidua, I was elected national organizer to take over from John Boydu. And then we've had quite some very good previous national organizers. Nana Kuford was our first national organizer, followed by Courage retired Kwashiga, the late. And then after Courage Kwashiga, we had Lord Oblite Kome. And then after Lord Kome, we had Mukta Bamba. Then after Bamba, we had John Boydu. So after John Boydu, then myself.
Is it true that you were angling for a ministerial role, but you were advised to stay with party after 2016?
People always try to come in back and forth. But I think after elections, you always need to have a conversation. There were some options on the table from president's end as well, and some also to see if all of us are moved straight into government. People must stay back and also have our backs and ensure that we clear the lines. And then, so I elected to also stay back.
So as a young national organizer, how minded are you of the constituency you represent? Are you there as MPP first or as a young person first?
I think both. I'm in a very unique position. One as a young person and also graduating from the youth wing of our party and becoming national organizer. There are times that people still, Kwame Sefaka, your good friend, still refers to me as youth, because it still keeps me in that bracket. However, it's always, anytime a decision will have to be made, I don't think just like NPP, but I also think about the young people as well. And for every political party, your survival depends on the youth of your country. They are reliable and also unreliable. The youth can be constructive and they can be destructive, depending on how they are properly managed. And some things must make you succeed when you are in that grouping, when you are a youth leader. The youth must find in you a sympathetic ally, and they must also find in you a trusted companion. So that is how you're able to also bring people from the other side who may not necessarily belong to your party to also campaign for your candidate or cast a ballot for your candidate. So yes, we try to blend, but no two ways. I believe that the NPP is a party of choice because of its programs, policies, and every promise of the NPP has an implementation strategy, and that is what gives me that comfort anytime I stand to talk about my party.
I've covered elections for a few years, 2004, 2008 to now. Usually when there's a first-term government, the opposition is on the offensive, and the government is usually sometimes on the defensive and also futuristic. But in the past few weeks, the NPP has organized a lot of press conferences, and it's almost attacking John Mahama. I mean, Mustafa Hamid addressed one today, and there's been a lot of, in fact, when NDC launched their manifesto, the day before, the NPP did a press conference, Rabbi seen the manifesto before it came out, did one after, and then there was another one today. What am I missing here? Why is the MPP
You're not missing anything.
attacking Mahama whilst you are the ones in government, rather?
No, I don't think we are attacking Mahama. We are situating the conversation in a proper context. Mr. Mahama remains the biggest obstacle to the advancement of our youth development.
Seriously?
Yes, because they're very, and I'm going to expose some of these things to you today. So,
the biggest
the biggest obstacle.
In power to our youth development.
Well, I think that the reason for the NPP's victory in 2020 is not just to jamboree, but is to sustain our country in prominence, in progress, and in prosperity. So if you have, the reason I say Mr. Mahama and the NDC, they remain our biggest obstacle as youth of our country and for the voters. I'll give you some typical examples. In 2008, the NDC did promise, as part of their campaign promises, that they were going to legalize galamsey activities in 2008. So there was a mad rush for people to go into that venture. And then in 2010, it was almost as if almost every young
legalize galamsey or legalize small
scale mining and the activities of galamsey. So I'll come to even this Okada business later. And then you had people going into this business. The government at that time stayed aloof. They didn't regularize it, they didn't regulate these activities, or they didn't legalize it. And you know that the negative effect, we had the degradation of our environment, the pollution of our water bodies, and the government simply gave up, even on the fight against galamsey. And so if I have the same government coming to tell me and making new promises, it's a bit strange. Again, another inconsistency about this government, let me take you to the NDC's manifesto for 2012. In fact, if you check their page 93 and page 94 of the NDC's manifesto for 2012, they did promise to pay assemblymen. And this year, if you check page 113 of the same NDC manifesto for 2020, they are still promising to pay assemblymen. But you had that time when you promised in 2012 to pay these assemblymen, when you had the 4 years uninterrupted. There was no coup d'etat in Ghana to implement your policies and programs. So if I tell you today that if the NPP doesn't help shape the narrative, it will be very difficult and detrimental to the growth of our country's democracy. And for us as a political party, we believe that promises are not just supposed to be made because they are promises and they must be made. You make these promises and you must follow through. So yes, that's what we've been having.
To be fair to the Constitution, you just said that NDC promised to legalize galamsey.
The activities of small-scale miners.
Now, if you read this publication, artisanal mining has been a formalized process. Now, artisanal mining is not new in Ghana. It has had a formal process for. Ghana has had a formalized process for legally mining and artisanal mining since the late 1980s. Okay. Then they say that between 2005 and 2007, a rush to Ghana by foreign investors, mainly Chinese, with more advanced and heavy equipment, escalated the issue. Okay. So two things. Artisanal mining has been formal in Ghana since the late 80s. And then a hike in the gold price in 05 to 07 led to a rush to Ghana by foreign investors, mainly Chinese, with more advanced and heavy equipment, escalating the issue. Then they talk about the techniques. So if you say that...
So what did they promise to do in 2008?
I don't have their manifesto here, but if you are saying that he's the one who promised, and therefore he's the reason why artisanal mining... You've had 3.5 years to solve illegal small-scale mining.
In fact, you know, in partnership with even your station, we had this program, Stop Galamsey. City FM and City TV were at the forefront of it.
And where is
this government never gave up in this fight. What we did was to train ex-Galamseyers or young people who were into small-scale mining, train them in proper ways of mining and not in our water bodies, train them at the University of Mines and Technology. Also, then instituted the community mining program. This is a government that has a long shot into the future. For us, we don't make promises because we are thinking about the next election. We make promises because we believe in the next generation of young people and the young Ghanaians. And then I also brought you back to, I'm sure you're checking that of the assemblymen as well for 2012.
Okay. Well, we are talking about Galamsey now, since you are talking
yes.
about. But
and
Galamsey
so,
is still going on in Ghana.
Well, but in all fairness, I am not saying that this government has achieved a 100% success rate. But what this government has done has been a major game changer, where people have been trained, and people have been certified, and people have been put into smaller groups in the communities. So that is regulation. That is properly being managed. And then you had this Galam Stop. Then you had this task force, Operation Vanguard, and all that, ensuring that people are adhering to the strict regulations.
The MMIP that you said you would do has largely not succeeded. There's been a lot of controversy over seized excavators. There's a lot of reports from across the country of water bodies still being polluted. 3.5 years after a Galamsey fight was launched. The gentleman who used to be the secretary of the anti-Galamsey body was captured in a compromising position by Anas in his video. He was relieved of his duty. He's been cleared. You seriously want to campaign by saying Mr. Muhammad should be blamed for Galamsey?
No.
That would be fine.
Bernard, I think they're also not being fair to us. What I did indicate was that the NPP never give up on the fight against Galamsey. The NPP introduced programs that was also helping us fight this Galamsey.
Okay.
And I've been modest here on your network that it hasn't been 100% success rate.
I see.
But we've made significant progress in the fight against Galamsey. And this was totally different and apart what the NDC did when they had the time to rule our country. And so you cannot compare two apples to two oranges because they are all fruit. Okay. No.
All right, let's talk about Muhammad. So today he was on Class FM, and he was essentially surprised that the NPP, who claimed to have a better record, would not allow him to debate the president. Here's a quick video of what he said. Your name popped up actually in his answer to a question. So let's take you to that interview.
Our people need to test our leaders on the clarity of their thought and how grounded they are in the proposals that they intend to. First, it was about infrastructure. And they said, one of them said that they've been the best in terms of infrastructure delivery. That was laughable, you know, since the Fourth Republic, or is it in history? You know, and so it was first about infrastructure, and I said, oh, okay, we can settle this with a debate between us. But now it goes beyond infrastructure. Now we have manifestos. Let's talk about our policies and programs. And so the people of Ghana would have been the beneficiaries of a debate between the two top contenders, you know, for leadership over the next 4 years. Unfortunately, they have declined. And let me correct an impression. They create an impression that I declined to debate in 2016. That's not true.
Right. I
was the first incumbent president to do a debate in 2012 with all my contenders, including Nana Akufo-Addo. In 2016, IEA wanted to conduct the debate, and we had a problem with IEA, so we said we're not going to participate in an IEA debate.
Right.
But we're willing.
I do recall that.
We're willing to participate in any debate that is hosted by any independent or neutral body. And so in 2016, a debate was held, and I participated, you know, with all the other presidential candidates. But again, it is the opposition leader, Nanado, who declined to debate. The night after we finished debating, he was on Peace FM, you know, doing his own debate with himself, you know. And so I've never run away from a debate with Nanado. They should not create that.
But you feel he is running away?
Of course. I mean, president of the country, you have a record. You say this election is going to be about track records. And I welcome that. Yes, it's about track record. I have a track record as president. He's got a track record as president. What is difficult in us sitting down and talking about our track records? And so I invite him again. I think he should ignore Sammi Awuku and all the others and just come out boldly and let's talk about our track records. It will be for the benefit of Ghanaians. Ghanaians will have a clearer picture of who they want to vote for.
Yeah.
So you said, why are you preventing Nanado from debating Mr. Muhammad?
Let me respond to the former president well, and I think he's not really getting our message well. You have your campaign plan and campaign strategy. We have our campaign plan and our campaign strategy. And Kweku Bako did put it rightly, that the only way for someone to dodge or swerve a better and properly constituted debate is when one of the opponents, who is supposed to be an interested party in that debate, says, oh, you come for a debate. They know that person is running away. But there's something interesting. He talks about comparison of records and the discussion on our manifesto. I take you back. Mr. Mahama in 2016 said that even if it will cost his presidency, he will not restore the teacher training, nursing training allowance. That was on the record. But then today, if you check the NDC's manifesto, page 68 to 70 of the NDC's manifesto, it says that they will maintain the status quo with regards to payment of allowances for teacher and nursing training allowance. I want to ask, which status quo is Mr. Mahama and the NDC talking about? Is it the status quo of the NDC deciding to cancel it, or the status quo of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's NPP ensuring that we restored it? So we need clarity on that. We are posing questions, and as we are enriching this debate, I'm sure Mr. Mahama and the NDC can be giving us the proper responses that we need. Again, the NDC, and in fact, Mr. Mahama did say that free education would destroy Ghana's education system. Now, Mr. Mahama and the NDC, they are saying that they will extend the free SHS to even cover students in private SHS. That's if you check their manifesto, page 69 of the NDC's manifesto. They're also saying they will provide free TVET, but already we've started free TVET. So I don't know if the NDC is really not following what is happening in the country. And then the danger of what they are doing is that anytime they make a promise, it doesn't come with an implementation strategy. But I'm not surprised. When I was youth leader, the NDC in 2010 launched the National Youth Policy. They brought out the implementation plan in 2015, 5 years after the launch of the National Youth Policy. And then again, they repeated the same thing, that they are going to launch the National Youth Policy. Bernard, we've seen these tricks before. And that is why we are very worried, and we are determined that this time around, the NPP has always been known that, oh, the NPP doesn't do propaganda, so we don't even respond to sometimes some of these vitriolic attacks from our opponent. This time around, we've decided that for every propaganda they throw, we will bring out the facts and the truth.
Sammi, doesn't that make it easier for Nana to debate Mr. Mahama then? If you are saying that they've been inconsistent.
They have been, and I'm sure. But it's evident. I'm not just saying.
It's not a problem. One of the ways in which you can show that to Ghanaians is to pitch the two. In fact, let me remind you, February 2019, NPP press conference addressed by Yababuyan Sama, February 19, NPP calls on NDC for a policy debate to compare their records. That's February last year. So what has changed?
But when we said we called the NDC for a debate,
yes,
we didn't say you just have to put the two candidates there. The party itself is leading the debate. The NDC is a major political party. So when we make a claim, they will either do a counter or they will respond to us.
But you are dealing with Mahama. All your press conferences are talking about Mahama.
Yes. Which
means it's about the men. In fact, Mr. Chidaku says, this election is not even about manifestos. It's about the records of two men.
Yes, and the credibility of the promises and the programs.
Contender,
yes.
I quote it. It's calling Oscar de la Hoya for a fight. Oscar de la Hoya's promoters say no. I quote it doesn't have credibility to fight me because he lost to somebody else. I beat him 4 years ago. What's the logic in that?
We believe strongly that we are advancing our argument. We've also brought forward for discussion our manifesto, which is leadership of service, protecting our progress and transforming Ghana for all. Unless what we've stated in it are not the fact. But if you want to take Mr. Mahama's word and say, look, go for a debate, you know what they want to do? They want to set their own questions and maybe try to answer them themselves.
A debate?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Yes. And that is why we
in the 2012 debate, who set questions? He was president in 2012, and Nana debated him.
We are asking them.
Nkrumah was a moderator.
We are asking
who
them.
set their questions there?
No, we are asking them that in this particular campaign, the NDC is not going to have the benefit of they dictating to us how our campaign should go. In the past, there were times that the NDC themselves also refused to attend a debate. And so, Bernard, this is not new, but it's not part of our campaign strategy.
You are
so
the champions of press freedom.
Yes.
NPP's in fact, I listened to Akufo-Addo when he was being vetted in 2001, and he said that he promoted press freedom. So he's going to repeal the criminal libel law.
So debate will enhance press freedom.
No, you don't get a concept. I'm saying that NPP has always thrived on the argument, in the debate in the public sphere, because we're a party of eloquent legal minds. You don't shy away from any kind of discourse.
Exactly.
It appears you feel your candidate may not match up to him, and therefore you don't want him to have that debate.
That is what surprises me about the NDC's strategy and argument. Unless someone convinces me that the only way for us to have a proper discourse is when there's a debate. 90 minutes, then it's over. Or 60 minutes and it's over.
3 rounds.
And oh no, we have a round 2 to go.
the Americans do. They have, think about it. Even Trump,
yes,
with all his problems, he's going to debate Joe Biden, and there are about 3 debates. It enriches the process. The media brings the public gets to watch. For some people, the only time they would actually listen to a policy debate is when the candidates are on the ballot.
I don't want us to belabor the point.
Okay.
And I get the argument you're also advancing. But what I can tell you, so far we haven't been convinced on the reason why we should have a debate.
Okay.
And I've also pointed out inconsistencies in the NDC's own argument and their manifesto promises.
Okay.
So sometimes it's a sad situation when the very people who are calling for a proper discourse, they themselves don't seem to be advancing that argument in a proper context. So you cannot promise something in 2012, win political power, go to bed, then after losing in 2016, come back to us in 2020 and say you're advancing the same argument. And Mr. Mahama is talking about records in office. In 2016, the NDC totally ran down Ghana's economy. If you check the policy rate of the Bank of Ghana in 2016, it was around 25.5%, the second highest in Africa apart from Namibia. Now the policy rate from Bank of Ghana is around 14.5%. This cannot be a record Mr. Mahama wants to compare with. Again, if you take lending, if you take the interest rate from the banks, from the commercial banks, for the NDC in 2016, it was somewhere around 33%. Today, you're down to somewhere around 23% for interest rate. So if you are comparing records in that manner, the NDC themselves don't understand the very records that they want to compare.
You can't pick and choose which record to compare on the economy, because if you take the same economy, the NDC can tell you, and I think other independents will agree,
okay,
they ended 2016 with a debt stock of 120 billion. Your debt stock is 231 billion. In fact, it's 254 billion the last time Mr. Furiata spoke. So that's a bit over double of the debt stock they have.
Between 2008 and 2012,
yes,
Ghana's debt stock increased by 267%.
You are using percentages and not absolute amounts.
But that is also to advance the argument properly. Between 2012 and 2016, 2012 and 2016, that was under Mr. Mahama. The debt increase was around 243%. Now,
so let me say, so from 9 billion to 42 billion to 2008 to 2012, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
From 42 billion to 122 billion. But you have increased from 120 billion to 250 billion.
Well, but so that is still around 76%.
Of what?
If you are comparing in terms of percentages.
But we're talking about because you and I have young kids.
Yes.
So they are not paying percentages, they are paying amounts. In fact, the NPP said you've managed to do a bond that will last 41 years.
By the time
our kids are in their 40s, they will still be paying debt. So it's the amount of debt. Percentage increase is not really the issue here when you talk about debt, because if they owe 290 billion, it doesn't matter.
Are you disputing the percentages, or you want us to speak in the figures?
The amount is a better measure. In fact,
you also picked and chose. So you could have also calculated and used that of percentages to
let me give you a neutral arbiter. Let me read for you a neutral arbiter.
But then I have something to say about the debt stock itself.
International Monetary Fund, December 2019. External and overall debt are high risk of debt distress. This is IMF. This is not Bernard Avle. Again, if you go to ODI, working paper 585, Chris Humphrey and Shakira Mustafa, countries of risk for high debt distress: Afghanistan, Burundi, Cape Verde, the list Central African Republic, Haiti, Ghana is there, Kenya. The only countries we are better than in this equation are countries already in debt distress: Grenada, Mozambique, Republic of Congo, South Tome, Somalia, South Sudan.
Bernard,
so Sammy, if you say that I am saying I'm picking and choosing, this is IMF, this is ODA, talking about debt.
You decided to quote in figures. I gave you that of percentages. You disputed that. But my argument is that you also picked and chose which one was comfortable.
So
but then,
a neutral arbiter.
No, it is a neutral arbiter. If you take Kufuor's era, he left us with about 9.2 billion.
Yes.
Mills was over 30 billion.
42, yes.
Yes, over 30, so 42 billion.
Yes.
Mahama took us to over 120 billion from the 42.
Yes.
The NPP, Mahama's was just within the same 4 years as that of the NPP. Good. If you take that percentages from when Mills left off to when Mahama left off, that increment in percentage terms is 243%. If you take that of Akufo-Addo, from Mahama to Akufo-Addo up to date, you are talking about 250 billion in figures, and you're talking about 76%. So that cannot be a record that you are saying that you should be comfortable with as a former leader.
So you are insisting on the percentage.
But then this debt that you are talking about, it includes the 11 billion cedis worth of arrears that they left in the road sector. Where we've paid 6 billion out of those areas. It includes the 21 billion cedis that we've used in the financial sector cleanup. So it cannot be that we just borrowed for borrowing. Every government will borrow, make no mistake. But then it's what you use it for. You are seeing ambulances. You are seeing that the NPP is constructing highways at a cheaper rate as compared to that of the NDC. You've seen us in the area of education, in the area of health sector delivery, in infrastructure across board. So we're not saying that no government will borrow, but then if you borrow, and all I see is jamboree, and for someone to tell me that they've brought Dubai to Accra, and then you ask yourself, you do comparative analysis in terms of the figures. It's not convincing.
We'll take a break. Few people have sent me a message. Say, Bernard, we can't discuss debt of a country using nominal figures in isolation without juxtaposing it with GDP or the value of the amount being quoted at the time. Fifi, I hear you. Good evening to you and Coco Bot. We'll take a break. Since you brought roads, I'll deal with roads a bit because you said that you meant a reference to roads. There's a comment from the NDC about roads, and there's also some issues with infrastructure comparison. So we'll be discussing these and more when we come back. This is The Point of View. Don't go away.
Morning. I just sent you Airtel Tigo money from my new number. We delivered 2 healthy kids last night. Congrats. Have you heard? Kwesi has
2 kids. Have you heard?
My son has 2 kids. Abazi. No. Now your sister almost stabbed me. Have you heard the news about the missing chicken? Have you heard? Get free calls and free Airtel Tigo money transfers for 6 months on new Airtel Tigo SIMs. Get a SIM today.
Africanacity is using plastic waste to provide affordable homes.
It's not long ago that things were normal. Good friends could meet for a good drink and share good times. And then everything changed. And our bars, the center of our communities, all closed, sending us all indoors. But now, things are changing. Kakra, small. We're getting our lives back. Obey, we'll get back to the way things were.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, want a drink?
Yeah, man.
It's time for us to rise up.
Hey, welcome back.
As we look forward to making our bars safe, Guinness Ghana will invest 10 million cedis through the Yin and Boom program to get our bar owners back on their feet. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
I'm just not ready yet. I want to wait a little before getting pregnant again.
Stop worrying and live free. No matter who you are, Lydia has a contraceptive just for you. Choose the Lydia Daily Contraceptive Pill with iron as your regular contraceptive or the Lydia IUD and non-hormonal contraceptive for long-term pregnancy prevention. Contact the Lydia Contact Center and let us help you decide how to live free. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Guest is National Organizer of the NPP, Sammi Awuku. We're talking about the NDC NPP in the run-up to the election. We've discussed a bit of the debate and the issue about debt. Mr. Awuku made an interesting point that they've cleared the arrears left by the NDC, and so they're even surprised that they are talking about levels of debt. Now, let me just take you into a quick video. I interviewed Hans Govins Agboja sometime last year on roads. At the time, there was a lot of clamor for road projects. This is what he said about the reason why the roads were in the shape in which they were in.
They have discovered that under the NDC, the almost 200 individual cocoa road projects, some of the contracts were inflated. He used the word inflated, and he said it publicly. And some of the roads didn't even exist, and then we awarded them on contract. As a minority spokesperson on road and transport, knowing the facts, I took them on until today. I am aware that they've contracted some members of their party to review that project. We are yet to determine whether they were even procured appropriately according to the Procurement Act and doled out some money to them. Recently, they came out disputing the quantum of money that was paid to the reviewing entity. But the fact is that not a single cocoa road project, as we speak, contract have been identified as having been procured fraudulently. Sadly, my brother, we went around the country a bit. We went to Western region. There were cocoa road projects that were 100% complete. The government told the contractors we won't take over because we are doing review. There were cocoa road that were 98% complete. Just if it's 98%, maybe it's just road furniture and line marking. The government says we will not take over. The contractor must hold on to it because we are doing cocoa road review. So 3 years down the road, the government is unable to publish the report of the cocoa road. The committee asked many times, I filed a question, they will never answer the question. It's simply because they lied to the people of this country that under President Mahama, something untoward went on in terms of cocoa road. So today, they said that the projects were more than the...
So that was Govins Agboja, MP for, I think it's at Daklu. So you said you cleared arrears. One of the reasons why you raised
6 billion.
Yes.
After validating many of these claims, 6 billion of
but
that.
You audited cocoa road projects, and
yes.
he says you haven't published the result of the audit, and you delayed road maintenance because of that.
Well, but let me even go back a bit to the debt. You know, apart from even what happened in the road sector, if you take the energy sector, they signed several take-or-pay agreements, where now as a country we are paying around 1 billion a year to service these debts.
Okay.
And all these will definitely add up and add on to your debt stock. So when I hear the NDC just talk about, oh, they've borrowed, if you take percentage terms, we've performed better. If you even take in terms of figures and compare, we've performed better. And for us, we've done everything with a human face. The NPP thinks about the Ghanaian people. Because if we can build something at a lower cost, we will definitely do that. But then if I listen to the NDC's argument and listen to them quite carefully, it's as if, we borrowed a lot because we can show you Terminal 3 of Kotoka International Airport. Oh, if you like, go to Kaswa, the interchange. But then we've proven that we can still build at a lower cost. So yes, back to the road sector that you're talking about. I am surprised. One of the comments Mr. Mahama made in 2016 was that they've constructed the roads. And so when the presidential candidate of the NPP is in a vehicle, he sleeps, so he enjoys the sleep. Isn't it strange that the footage that you show, it shows that the very roads you said you had tarred, asphalted and completed. When we came into office, Bernard, as if it was orchestrated, almost every corner of our country, and with the media even leading the crusade, fix our roads. So for the NDC and the promises they made to us that they fixed our roads, which roads did they fix? I am not saying they didn't do anything. No administration scored 0. But we can't give you 4 years for you to come and account to me in
They
very
said it's
small
because you
terms.
failed to do the maintenance because you were reviewing the cocoa roads audit, and that stalled
So it
the
was
maintenance.
only cocoa roads that they construct. Is that the argument?
No,
And
it was
even
because
that
of
is
the,
not even sustainable. That argument is not sustainable.
The voice clip
As
I
I
played.
speak to, we have 44 ongoing cocoa roads, and the government has also initiated several others. But then when you come into office and people come to you with several invoices and claims, and you start paying without validating it, and some with no documentation, when you are elected as a leader of our country, or if you are elected as a government, you have two responsibilities. One, to secure all of us in terms of our safety. Number two is also to properly manage the affairs of our country for the betterment of all of us. So if the NPP administration, upon assumption of office, we come and everybody is saying pay, 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 pay. Now, after going through the books, we realize that out of the 11 billion of the arrears that they left at the road sector, we validated about 6 billion, which we've paid. If we had not done due diligence, we are going to commit the taxpayer to pay in excess of something that there's no evidence to even support those claims. But I think it's a big shame if the NDC can be courageous to show footages of roads that are yet to be completed, or even have an argument and talk about roads. I think that they are.
But you're admitting that the audit didn't show any untoward, because
which auditing didn't? Are you talking about the cocoa
roads audit?
So you are still basing it at the, and even that one is not the correct picture. And I would expect Cocoa Board to even come up with even a counterclaim. And of course,
because the last time I seen minister said it will be published in due course.
I know they've done some forensics, and some they've renegotiated.
Okay.
On the contract sum and all that. And so for us as a party and government, we believe in value for money.
Okay.
And we were elected to protect the public purse. The NPP, and I said from the beginning, we won't always get it right because it's not a government or a party of saint, but the NPP won't deliberately get it wrong. We will not just think about the next election that we need to just try and spread some gravels on a kilometer or kilometers of road, and then after elections that, if I use the Fufusu Solar Road, that, I mean, the NDC said was one of the best roads ever. In fact, Mr. Mahama himself said it. I don't know the last time you used that road.
A year ago.
Yes, but you detected some few defects. Exactly. So we pay so much for something and we don't get the benefit of it.
Okay, but Mr. Sammi Awuku was in the seat you are sitting. I interviewed him a month or a few weeks ago.
I think I listened to him.
Every parameter of development, infrastructure, health, education, they have done better. He actually made that claim here. Okoboy was here. He disputed this. But he basically said when it comes to, for example, infrastructure in hospitals, infrastructure in schools, they have built more than you within the 3.5 years you've had, comparing Mahama to Akufo-Addo.
Bernard,
maybe let me play that voice quickly. 2 seconds. Show me Sammi Awuku whilst he gets his reaction, because this was quite a serious claim. He says, he said you can bring any area. Please show him what the guy said. Any area.
They claim that they have performed better relative to infrastructure projects than any other government in the history of Ghana. It's also another barefaced lie, because we can do that exercise here and now.
Okay.
Take any sector of your choice, whether it is education, health, maritime, aviation, water and sanitation, any sector, and let us look at what they claim to be the achievements in those sectors and compare that to the towering and superior record of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And we see that yes, the mediocre projects they are bragging about will pale into insignificance. For example, in the area of health, what are they bragging about? 4 polyclinics, 4 rooms, 243 chip compounds. They cannot boast of 1 district hospital they have built. They have not built 1 regional hospital, not 1 teaching hospital, not 1 institutional hospital.
Okay.
They have 243 chip compounds, we have 1,600. They don't have a district hospital, we have 13. They claim to have done 4 polyclinics which they inherited from us, we have 20.
I think this merits a response.
I mean, first of all, you know, we have to be careful when we take some agencies' words, because it can be contagious. And if I take the educational sector, about 1,253 of structures and projects have been completed there. Then we have 1,446 ongoing. So in total, you're talking about 2,699. This government's biggest investment has been in the educational sector, which you agree. And there we showed leadership again. I'll come to Sammi Awuku's flip-flop position on this infrastructure debate. The NPP government decided that when we introduced free SHS, we knew that it was going to increase enrollment. But these people deserve to be educated. Bernard, as I sit here, the only thing that has given me a privilege, or given me that privilege to sit before you and for you to sit before me, is for us to have that strong debate or discussion. And this is so because you and I had the opportunity to be educated. But I know many of my friends growing up on the streets in Koforidua and elsewhere that they would have loved to have that opportunity to continue from JHS. But they weren't able to do so because they lost a relative or lost a father or lost an uncle, or they couldn't continue. So this government, in its wisdom, decided that let's educate Ghana. And in that process, made the single biggest investment in that sector. Today, when we had increment in enrollment, what we did the following year was to introduce double track. For the NDC, they remind me of John Kerry, the famous
John Kelly.
Kerry.
John Kerry,
yes, the former Democratic presidential candidate. You know, that was in 2004. In 2004, any time that a policy was being criticized, a Bush administration policy was being criticized, oh, when I come, I'm going to review. I'm going to change this. And then when it gets restored, then he changes his position. The NDC, the only consistent thing about them in this whole campaign has been their inconsistencies in the argument that they are raising. When we said that we're going to implement free SHS, Mr. Mahama said he was going to destroy our educational system. Today, he tells me that, oh, when I come, I'm going to continue with it and also ensure that we take it to the private schools.
You've made that point too. He's now talking about infrastructure.
But I gave you examples of infrastructure.
But so for example, he said in health infrastructure.
Sammi Awuku did not give you a figure.
He did.
I have given you
health infrastructure. He gave me
1,253 for completed and ongoing 1,446.
He said you people have done 5 polyclinics. They did 22. 5 polyclinics. They did 22. You haven't done any district hospital. They did 13. No regional hospital, they did Greater Accra Regional Hospital. No teaching hospital, they did UGMC. No,
you see why he doesn't? You see why
Sammi compounds? You did 243, they did 1,600. He said that here.
In the health sector alone, we've had over 378 completed projects and 295 ongoing.
So can you repeat that?
In the health sector, in terms of infrastructure, we've had 378 completed and 295. But let me come to even the hospital.
Small compared to what they have.
Let me come to even the argument that he raised.
Yes.
If you even have a snake bite and they take you to the best hospital in the world in terms of building, that this is a huge edifice. I mean, and there's nothing in there to make that hospital save your life, regardless of the address, whether on number 11 Tete Loop or around Times Square, you will still die. When the NPP came into office, the NDC's own buildings that they said, oh, these were hospitals. The NPP had to ensure that we got the needed resources to furnish these buildings, to make sure that these buildings can save lives. I'll give you a typical example of the ambulances. The NDC procured ambulances that could not even save the life of someone suffering from diarrhea. But then when we came into office, we ensured that we procured, in fact, ambulances that when you are in it, you feel that, look, I'm getting somewhere in terms of medical or health delivery. So you cannot just compare the fact that, oh, there's this building here, it's going to be named City FM or City TV. You enter, there are no cameras in there. There's nothing in there that will give me the impression that this is a building that can let me communicate with the outside world. So yes, indeed, the NPP came into office because after managing the economy well, if you don't manage the economy, well, forget about all the things he's talking about. You cannot hire nurses, you cannot hire doctors, you cannot make sure that you even get basic equipment in there to save lives.
I'll take a short break. When I come back, I'll let you wrap up on this argument. There are other issues being raised as well in terms of governance records, the issue of the Auditor General and all these things. The NPP, Akufo-Addo in particular, has been a good governance, anti-corruption candidate in the past. So what's going on with that? This is the point of view. Stay with us.
It's not long ago that things were normal. Good friends could meet for a good drink and share good times. And then everything changed. And our bars, the center of our communities, all closed, sending us all indoors. But now, things are changing. Kakra kakra, small small. We're getting our lives back. Obey ye. We'll get back to the way things were.
Hey, Mama. Hey, you want a drink?
Yeah, man. It's time for us to rise up.
Hey, welcome back.
As we look forward to making our bars safe, Guinness Ghana will invest 10 million cedis through the Yin Boom program to get our bar owners back on their feet. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
I'm just not ready yet. I want to wait a little before getting pregnant again.
Stop worrying and live free. No matter who you are, Lydia has a contraceptive just for you. Choose the Lydia Daily Contraceptive Pill with iron as your regular contraceptive, or the Lydia IUD, a non-hormonal contraceptive for long-term pregnancy prevention. Contact the Lydia Contact Center and let us help you decide how to live free. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Welcome back. We're talking to National Organizer of NPP, Sammi Awuku, discussing why Nana deserves 4 more from the NPP's perspective. Quick reaction from Engineer Mahama. The Fufu Solar Road shouldn't be boxed as one. There were 2 contracts. One was China Water, the other was China Harbour. The Fufu Solar Road is still in a good shape. The other one is bad. That's why I stand by the fact that governments must blacklist contractors who do shoddy work. I think he was reacting to the point you made about...
But let me even complete a point in the hospital's argument. The NDC, anytime they talk about they've built this hospital, they've built that hospital, let's not forget, the hospitals they are talking about spreads over 12 years. Eurojet from Kufuor's era, through that of Professor Mills and that of himself, John Mahama. But the NDC, they amaze me. They always now take out Professor Mills as if nothing happened under his era. But then we are talking about an agenda to build 111 hospitals, district and that of regional. When we came into office, we also completed some that were ongoing, and we have initiated and completed others. So if the argument is that, oh, President Kufuor's time, they started UGMC, maybe through Mills's time, that of Mahama. So once NPP, within 4 years, they must build another UGMC hospital. In any case, the phase 2 of that project is being constructed by the NPP. So what is the argument that they are raising? Let me take you to our issue of job creation.
You said it created 2 million jobs.
Yeah, 2 million jobs, and in excess of it.
Wow.
We did this one through the public sector, the formal private sector, if you take the informal sector as well, through the Nation Builders Corps, that's of the NEIP, the startups, and the support. The breakdown is there. I don't
778,000 public sector, formal sector, private 267.
Yes.
Government job creation program 1 million.
So,
but are these permanent jobs?
Okay,
though?
Fantastic argument. For us as a government and as a party, you come into office. There are millions and millions of young people. They have 2 options. Either they vote by feet or they take up nefarious activities. They vote by feet and they end up dying on the coast of Lampedusa and all that. This government has a short, medium, and long-term strategy. As I speak to you, the 100,000 NAPCO graduates that we decided to absorb and spread them across the various sectors. Over 22,000 of them, as we speak, they've gotten permanent jobs and they've left NAPCO. If you take John Kuma's area of NEIP, they have trained in excess of 45,000 people. Out of the 45,000, 5,000 of them were supported between 10,000 and 100,000 cedis. And every proposal came with a job plan, recruitment plan. So they too, in furtherance to that conversation, have also hired more hands. If you take a government like the New Patriotic Party and Nanado's administration, one thing that we've done and showed proper leadership is not to run away from problems. Mr. Mahama must also be told the leadership is not a team sport. Leadership, you stand up to the responsibilities, you man up, you take decisions. Sometimes those decisions might not even be popular. But in the long term, these are decisions that can also go a long way to affect positively the lives of people. As a young man, never in my life, in my short political life, have I seen someone talk to me about his flagship program being legalization of Okada. And I was shocked, and I find it very insulting. Yeah, it's a flagship program because now everywhere Mr. Mahama goes, the NDC's party machinery will organize some Okada people to go and show solidarity and support. That is fine. I've organized demonstrations.
Can you regularize it?
What does that even mean? They said the same thing in relation to Galamsey. But Bernard, regularize it at what cost? You cannot, that's what I'm saying. Anything they say doesn't come with an implementation strategy. And so you are going to have a difficulty. They said they will abolish double track the moment they get into office. So is it the gold or the green?
Is that they will finish the abandoned, what do you call it?
The 50% fees
abandoned e-blocks so, to accommodate the students.
So that in January, in the unlikely event the NDC wins political power, so in January they will complete the e-blocks for you to abolish double track.
They say you abandon the e-blocks, so they'll finish them. And by the time they finish them...
Let's be fair to the Ghanaian people. Another promise that they make is, 50% absorption of fees at the tertiary level. The academic calendar starts in October. So NDC in the unlikely event wins in January. These people might have paid the fees.
But I mean, on the Okada issue, I'm told that there's a discussion going on to regularize it, unless I'm mistaken. I think there was an interview with the minister.
I have a document here. The NPP, I can confidently tell you, we won't put the lives of our young people at risk. The NDC, under Mr. Mahama, and for the avoidance of doubt, in a law, that is Road Traffic Regulation 2012 LI 2180, passed under Mr. Mahama, declared Okada business illegal.
Yes.
It was under Mr. Mahama.
Yes.
So now, is it one of the mistakes he wants to come and correct? Because he's saying, in one breath, he says that he's coming to continue with his good works. In another breath, he says he's coming to correct the mistakes. Let me take the Okada as one example. Maybe that to him, when he declared it illegal, it was a mistake. Let's put it that way. In terms of regulation, what is the strategy? Is it a case of you are going to speak to insurance companies to insure them? Because if you put somebody's life on the motorbike, the person must have some basic things to survive in case of an accident. Helmet is one of them. So
what's NPP's view? You are not going to regularize it?
No, the NPP's view, we started stakeholder engagement somewhere last year as well. We've been to all the 10 regions. Greater Accra was held at the Ghana Shippers Authority, Volta and all that. And then those who participated in the consultative process, you had Ghana Institute of Planners, Ghana Automobile Dealers Association, Ghana National Association of Driving Schools, National Road Safety, DVLA, and all that.
What was the conclusion? We have 30 seconds.
And then what we decided to do was to engage these 6 new regions. The honest truth is that what the NDC is promising is something to just hoodwink people. But what we intend doing, we cannot be against bicycle ride. That is not our intention. Because if you even go to Tamale in the north, we've established an assembling plant for tricycling.
Would you regularize
Our plan is not to just say, look, put lights on the street and put them at risk. We ensure after the consultative process, if we need to help these people, nobody wants to...
So you are deliberating on what to do?
We are deliberating. And nobody wants to be an Okada rider for life. Let's understand it.
So
it cannot be a flagship program.
So if the consultative meeting
I will not put my brother... I will not encourage my brother to be an Okada rider.
He is saying that
and likewise, Mr. Mahama will not encourage his son to be an Okada rider.
Whichever way
circumstances can push you into such a situation.
Will agree.
When we are done with the consultative process, government will then come up with a roadmap that, look, this and this is what we can do to secure lives on the road. Not someone telling me that, I declared it illegal, but I'm going to make it legal.
So you'll be more deliberate. in your approach to deciding how to regularize it?
Mr. Mahama, I knew in 2016. And Mr. Mahama, that for me, in terms of what the NDC is presenting in 2020, in terms of their policies and programs, there's no change in value.
Fantastic.
And the
no
value
problem.
is the same.
There's a lot of time to debate that. Thank you, Sammi Awuku. We wish you well. He's the youthful national organizer of the NPP. We thank you for watching. Stay with CCTV. The Voters Diary is next. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.